All right, what's up, y'all? We are back. You know who I am. You know who that is. That's Ja, the game giver.
You know what I'm saying? It's
Welcome
time
back.
back with another banger. You know what I'm saying? Back on Izzy's channel. You know what I'm saying? I had to show up a little fresh.
It,
You know, what I'm saying,
I
look,
like it.
I'm giving free drip. Izzy,
Free.
am I drip or am I drip? Am I fresh or am I
Hey,
fresh?
hey, man, you're dripping right now, man. You're showing the people how to dress. It's probably something. Hey, if you want to learn how to, you'll put on game on drip. Ja, the game giver, man. He'll give you all that kind of stuff. Um,
On in. You feel
there
me?
you go.
I
Tap
got you.
in.
Tap in. Come to the channel. Stop playing. I'm giving free game. I'm giving free game. Stop playing.
Every day. But today, this episode is a little special to start off because I just hit 1,000 subscribers. So I just want to thank each and every one of you guys for, staying tuned, listening, participating in like comments or things like that. It means a lot to me. I work hard and to see it get to this point. I know there's a lot more to go. But going back to today, we want to start off by something we kind of hinted on in the last podcast when we were talking about sports, and that was kind of like the transition out of football. Both of us played at City College. Jare went further than I am. He was very fortunate in that aspect, so he was able to go and um, actually, I'll kind of let you take the reins from here and kind of describe what your experience was. Because for me, after I was done with City, I went transferred over to Cal Maritime, and then I played rugby over there. And after that, that was pretty much it. And I just focused on my career, getting my degree and all that. So, Josh, what is it like for you going to the extent that you went to in your transition from going to football 110% for 365 days in a year for however long to where you are right now?
Yeah, bro. I mean, it was a hard transition for me. Like, when you're used to playing football all those years, for the majority of your life, pretty much. I've been playing since I was a kid, probably like since I was like 12 or something. I went all the way D1. The goal and the dream was always to make it to the league, the NFL, to, be able to help your family. So, that was always the goal, the dream. Got close, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. So, at some point, it comes to an end. You know what I mean? And I know Izzy, like in football, when we always used to sit down and hearing the coaches kind of preach to us, like this is going to end one day. It kind of just goes through one ear and out the other when you're there. You know what I mean? But once it ended, for me, it was kind of hard, like especially that I felt disappointed that I like didn't make it as far as I wanted to go. But I mean, now I'm able to look back and be grateful to go live out my dream and play D1 college football. Like not even a lot of people get to go do that. You know what I mean? So I thank God for that. You know what I'm saying? It's not that I'm ungrateful, but the transition, I would say, like it was hard. Like I just felt like something was missing, like
Right.
something was just gone. Like I didn't know how to fill that void. You know what I mean? So that's kind of why I just started hitting the gym like super hard. Like, I didn't know what else to really do with, not with my time, but like with my life, kind of like, besides like career wise, it's like I just felt like something was missing. Like football was like a part of me. So I was just hitting the gym real hard. You know what I mean? But then as I'm hitting the gym like so hard, it's like, okay, but like, I'm working out and doing all of this, but it's like it almost kind of felt like what for? Not that, you
Right.
should be doing that, but it's like I'm not competing, I'm not doing anything. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not playing football anymore, but so it's just kind of like that helped fill the void just a little bit, but not enough. So boom, I ended up, getting into MMA, went did my thing. So that kind of filled the void, that helped fill that void that I
By the way, how long, sorry to cut you off, how long have you been playing football up until that point where you transitioned? Like, how old were you when you stopped playing football? And at what age did you start?
um I started playing football at like 11 or 12 or like 11 or something. And I stopped, it was my senior year of college, so that was 2016, so I was like what? I was like 2021. Yeah, something like that. like
So
21.
from 12 years old, right? 12 years old till about 21.
Yeah,
So what is that? That's about 9 years, 9 years of playing football nonstop. That's a long
yeah,
time, almost a decade.
yeah.
So
I was probably about 11, 11. So about 10, about
yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
crazy. That's crazy. And so, like when you're
Yeah,
doing
and
something
like you
for so,
said, nonstop. Year
right,
after year after year after. I didn't take a break. There was no time where it was like I took a year off and nah, like it was yeah. Once I first started football, it was all the way through until I graduated college and I ended.
and that's the crazy thing. Like a lot of people don't realize, right? And we talk about the NFL. Obviously, we spoke about Tua Tagovailoa in the last podcast and how he got injured and how that affects his mental health, physical in the long run. It really takes like a combination of athletic ability and almost like a little bit of luck to be able to succeed in the NFL. Because we both know a lot of guys that have the talent. Obviously, I believe you have the talent, and just don't get there for circumstances are out of their hand. You know what I mean? Like we heard about Bo Jackson, right? He got injured in that game where he lost his career, wasn't able to
Yeah,
bounce back. So it really is amazing to see a lot of people that do succeed in the NFL. Like the average career for like a running back in the NFL is like 2 to 3 years. That's not
yeah.
that
It's like
long.
two years.
Could you imagine going
Probably
into
less
like
than
any
that. A
career?
little less than that. But
Yeah, exactly. Like imagine studying your whole life, right, to be like a doctor, and you're only a doctor for 3 years. That's it.
yeah, facts.
Like I would be mind blown to think that you would spend like almost 10 years of your life to only work for three.
You know,
Yeah, go ahead.
and two, like that's why a lot of those guys kind of like go broke too, because like they get in the league thinking that they're gonna be there for X amount of time or whatever. However, years and years, but so they go off whatever, buying apartments, house, cars, and you know, and some of them don't make it past that rookie contract or the league minimum, and once they out of the league, after that 1.5 years, 2 years, they like, damn, I didn't really even save none of this money, none of this, 30,000, 25,000, $30,000 check I'm getting every Monday. I was spending it on stuff. Now I don't even have nothing to sit on. Now I got to go
Exactly.
work a regular job, so
Right.
that's how a lot of them end up going broke too. So I think as it says, like 75% of them or something end up going broke
And
after.
and like obviously that's because a large part of that is not having like the not being well equipped in terms of financial advising, and like you're young, right?
Facts,
If you're
facts, yeah.
9, 20,
Like when you
21,
when you just came up, whatever, you may have came from a background with not a lot of money, so
right,
all of a sudden you getting, whatever, it could be the league minimum, you getting 30, 25,000, $30,000 every week. You like, damn, like, you know what I mean?
right.
So
And even right
yeah,
now, like for example, like working like a normal job, 9 to 5. I mean, even after you get your paycheck, by the next time the next paycheck comes up, you're like, man, I paid all my bills and stuff. I'm on E almost. You know what I mean?
facts,
So
yeah.
it's the same concept. I think it doesn't matter how much money you make. It only matters how mature and like
How you
how well
manage it.
people manage it and teach you how to manage it. And that's the real difference. But like going back to the topic, like your transition out of football, like in your opinion, like if you could go back to when you were still at
At
Central
Central,
Michigan, like yeah, what would you do differently? Um,
oh, that's a
yeah,
good one.
go
That's
ahead.
a good one. I think I would, I'll take care of my body better. Like when you're younger, you know, I mean, you're in a program and stuff, but like I'm more aware now. So, I think I would have just, it's not that I wasn't taking care of my body, but I would have put more care into it, more conscious about the stuff that I eat, you know, uh, pretty much, yeah, like my nutrition and stuff, I would say, like being in the very, very tip top shape. But you young college kid, like you know what I'm saying? You there, you balling, we working hard still. You know what I'm saying? We getting in shape. We putting in work. It's partly where I got my work ethic today from. You know what I mean? Football. And then obviously going there too was some of the hardest conditioning, you know what I mean, ever did. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I brought that into my regular life. But if I go back and change one thing, I think it would be how I would take a little better care of my body, nutrition wise, and like uh um just like rest and you know just mobility, and taking care of my body, like foam rolling and doing the little stuff, kind of.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I think a lot of the time we rely too much on our youth to take over and kind of fill the gaps where, that hard work, right? When you have the talent more often than not. Like, for example, like you and I, like we grew up like wherever we're from, like high school, being like the best player on the field for a long
Yeah,
time. And for most of it, you didn't really feel the need to have to run as hard as the coaches always gave us a lot more leeway in comparison to the other kids because they knew we were just good. Talent would just carry us to the goal. And then as you get more into like a higher level, right, you can't just do that. You gotta be more consistent, right?
not at all.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
everybody's is ballers. You know what I mean? Like it's not easy to go and make it to that level. You're playing against the country's top athletes, like
Right.
D1 college ball. Like they got other good players too, good running backs and stuff too. Fast, strong guys too. So it's like it's the little stuff that really that really matters. And I can say honestly too, I didn't know as much as I back then as I do now also too. So like even with nutrition, to be honest, I learned a lot of nutrition, like really a lot of nutrition. Like the bulk of my knowledge from joining MMA, when I started having to cut weight and knowing what I can put in my body to drop that weight in a certain amount of time, what I can't, what I can fuel myself with for a good amount of calories to keep me going, so I can go cut more weight. So I started playing around with foods and learning nutrition really when I was in MMA, cutting from like 205 down to 170 and stuff. You know what I mean? So that's when I really started learning about nutrition. I knew a little bit, from football and stuff, but the bulk of it from MMA. And I just brought that into my personal training experience and my knowledge and stuff that I help my clients with, along with the exercises and nutrition, because nutrition is the most important piece. It's the most important piece. It matters what you put in your body. When they really say you are what you eat, you are. Like, you know what I mean? You go eat a donut, you're going to look like a donut. You know what I mean? So
Homer
I could
Simpson
just go
diet, the
back
Homer Simpson diet,
to
bro.
football. I would do that. I would focus
Yeah.
more on my nutrition. I would say that. That's one thing I would change.
And so, to end it on this point, and I wanted to like address or give advice, right? Like for a lot of the athletes, right, that are transitioning. And I'll start off by saying this: the hardest thing about being committed for so long into a sport like that, whether it's rugby, football, right? You feel like your worth is centered around whatever it is you're playing. Like for example, like with you and us, like when we play football for that amount of time, you almost feel like what else is there to do? Like what's gonna drive me? Because every year, we look towards the next season to give us that purpose to work for this drive. And so now that's why like football is so important because once that's over, we were able to thankfully take that drive and direct it or point it in another way, right? So we can utilize it now. Like you, obviously, you're a personal trainer, and me and my job. And so a lot of people, a lot of athletes, tend to have some difficulty like transitioning into the next chapter of their life. Like, what's your advice to someone that might have just played their last game? You know what I mean? After their senior year or something. Like, what's your advice to those people? Keep them motivated in the next chapter of their life.
My advice would be to find something you're passionate about, and like really seriously passionate about, and take all of that drive that you had towards that sport and everything you learned from that sport and use it towards your new motivation and your new passion. You know what I mean? So apply that. So take what you learned from football, because football teaches you a lot. Like, you know what I mean? And I remember you would always hear coaches saying that too, one ear throughout the other, But you really start to realize it once you get out of football and you go into regular life. Like, I noticed that I have more of drive than just that average like person. But I think that came not think, but I know where it came from. Playing football all those years. We was always grinding. We was always getting it. We was always after it. We was always going hard. We always had goals to chase. We always wanted to win games. We always wanted to be the best. So you just got to find something you're passionate about. You're seriously passionate about that you love. Take that what you learned in football and use it towards that. You'll be all right, because you're doing something you love. So you're going to work hard at it and you're
Yes,
going to make it.
and to that point, like you mentioned, like you got to transition, like you got to find that passion, right? Obviously, for you, it took a little bit, right? And for me, it also
Yeah,
takes a little bit of time. What's, I guess, and I'll start up this off this question, and once I answer, then you can answer it. But the question is, what advice would you give to someone trying to find that passion? And for me, it's really hard to say, but for the most part, it's something that you just enjoy. And sometimes as a man, like you don't know, putting your effort into something that you believe in, it's really hard to find sometimes, and you have to find joy and something that you really look forward to doing every single day. I think once you find that, which is a process, for me, my advice is to look at yourself, look at what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, and then think if you can like combine the two things, right? And combine what you enjoy and what you're good at, and then see how you can monetize that, like take that into something where you can make money out of it. I think for the most part, a lot of people just do something they're good at, right, but don't really enjoy. I think
yeah.
exactly. I think when a lot of people get older in that stage, they tend to regret. They feel like they just wasted their life. But I think that's just a bad excuse for your own choice to not live up to the standard that you can live up to. So my
Yeah.
advice is to find something you're good at and that you enjoy, and then figure out a way that you can monetize that. And if you don't have it now, work towards that. But what's your advice to people trying to find that passion for the next chapter?
I would say it is gonna take time. Like don't feel like you gotta rush. Just jump into something. Like because you'll know if it's not for you. So I would say take your time finding it. Really think about it. Pray about it. And when it comes, you'll know. You know what I mean? Because you're gonna be juiced. Like you're gonna be like ready to wake up every day and get it. You're gonna want to learn more willingly. You know what I mean? Like not like, ah man, see, I gotta come here and do this training. Nah, like you're gonna want to learn more about what you're doing so you can get better. The more you learn, the more you earn. You know what I mean? So take your time to find what you're really passionate about, and bro, go after that shit, bro. You go after that shit, bro. So I can say another thing too. If you're doing something you just don't like doing, I mean, I know it's, certain situations or sometimes you may not just be able to stop, but if it's really like, not for you, like you really just miserable, bruh, stop. Like, just stop. Like, you know what I mean? Like, find you something you love doing, bruh. It's not worth being stuck there if you're miserable. You at a job that you don't like, a 9 to 5 you just hate, but to me, that would be another thing too. Don't do it. Find you something else to do with your life, right? Life is too short for you to be miserable doing something you don't like doing. Like you stuck there just because you feel like, oh, it's good money, or like I'm in a good position. Like, but is it worth it if you're miserable?
Right.
To me, it's not. So that's one thing I would say. But hey, do what you want.
Do at the end of the day, you got to make the decision for yourself.
Facts.
For us, I think that's something that you find in the long run when you make that decision for yourself, because we do it for ourselves. We're not doing it for anybody else. You know what I mean? Nobody's telling us to really do these things. You have to want to do it. And that's the number one thing. Okay, so
Facts.
cool. So let's that was a great conversation.